Hi, I'm James Howe. I'm the Program and Communications Manager with BEP Waterloo Region, a local charity that makes every day Career Day. First, I'd like to do a territorial acknowledgement. We'd like to acknowledge that we are broadcasting from the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Neutral people. We honor and respect the First Peoples of Canada and strive to learn from their example. We also wish to thank the sponsors who made this series possible, including Toyota Motor Manufacturing Canada, the Region of Waterloo, the Workforce Planning Board of Waterloo, Wellington, and Dufferin, and the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Programs in both the Waterloo Region and Waterloo Catholic District School Boards. The goal of our Explore Your Future series is to help young people in the Waterloo region and their families better understand career opportunities available to them and the ways they can continue exploring and preparing. You can type any questions you have into the Q&A. And this year, we are allowing you to upvote questions that you'd like to have answered live. For your privacy, your video and audio will remain off. Tonight, we have a very special edition of Explore Your Future. Instead of, as we usually do, feature members of the local workforce, we're featuring local teens who have done some very interesting things. They've identified a problem and applied their creativity towards solving it. We have 6 teens who will present tonight who are involved in 4 different projects. A couple of projects have been worked on for a while, so we'll get to see what that means for them. And a couple of them are fairly new and have been funded through our Youth Creativity Fund. We've asked each project to take up to 5 minutes to tell you about the problem they identified, their solutions towards solving it, and how it's going. When the 4 presentations are finished, we will have one of my colleagues come to share more about the Youth Creativity Fund and how it could help you. And then we will have a question and answer session. So please join me in welcoming to the camera our panelists. We have Ellen Brisley and Leah Uman, who are the founders of Ayudo Solutions, a hub that connects people in need with people who want to give. We also have Saeed Hashmi, who is currently working on a personal project that he will share with us later. We have Neil Mitra, founder of a medical device startup, Mitra Biotechnologies. And finally, we have Olamide Olajid and Isha, whom are organizers of Invitation to Belonging. And my colleague, April Albano, who manages the Youth Creativity Fund for BEP Waterloo Region, will also be presenting and available to answer questions. If we want to have as many questions answered live as possible, so that's what we will do. Although if anyone on the panel or April wants to respond in writing, especially to a very specific question, you may go ahead and do so. But as much as possible, we want to do everything live, and we're not expecting anybody to answer questions in writing, because that's what we're all gathered here tonight to have a good conversation together. So, ready to get started. The first project that we will be hearing from is going to be presented by Ellen and Leah. Sorry, I'm sure I'm getting Okay, go ahead, please.
Can everybody see my screen? Is that
Yes.
good? Okay, I just started on the wrong. There we go. All right. So, hello. So we are the founders of Ayudo Solutions. So my name is Ellen Brisley. I'm a grade 12 student at Cameron Heights. And so go ahead, Leah.
Yeah, and my name is Leah Uman, and I am in grade 12 at WCI.
Yeah.
So we're just going to start off by talking a little bit about our journey. So Ayudo is an app, and it, as you can see, is the current thing that we're working on. But we have gone through quite a few other apps before we sort of arrived at where we are. And we sort of went through this journey because of this competition called Technovation, where you create an app to solve a problem in society. So we've done mental health, natural disasters, healthcare, but we have landed at sort of, I think, where we think that we can make the most impact, and that is Ayudo.
Yeah. So, you got to try a lot of things before you land on something that'll stick. So basically, Ayudo Solutions is a web app that connects donors and charities. And so charities can post exactly where money or items that they receive are going. And so donors can then feel directly the impact that they have when they donate. And so that kind of creates a more meaningful donation process. So what we did is we took that app that we submitted to Technovation and we applied it to our community in KW. So we used our app to provide over 200 gifts to seniors in nursing homes over the COVID pandemic holidays. And so basically, we had 2 nursing homes that got specific gift requests from seniors, and those were posted on our web app. And so then the donors got to see exactly what the seniors wanted for Christmas, which was a much more personalized touch. And then they donated. So we raised over $3,000. So this is just for one charity. And so we worked with volunteers from high school. We worked with UW clubs who helped us write personalized letters. We worked with local stores who provided the gifts. We worked with the mayor, we worked with CBC News. And so all of this kind of taught us how to communicate with people, learn from different industries. And so this was a huge project for us. And honestly is one of the best things that I've ever done. So.
Yeah, I completely agree. um, yeah, so that kind of brings us to what we're doing with Ayudo this year. So we have started this thing called the Ayudo Community Outreach Program. And basically what we want is for youth to get youth involved in our community. So we are asking youth in grades 7 to 12 to apply to our program. And once you join, basically what it's going to be is you're going to use our app to do your own initiatives. So this can be anything from food drives to school fundraisers to homeless shelter drives. It can literally be anything. We just want you to be able to go through what we went through because we feel like it was a really good experience and we learned so much from it. And we want youth getting involved in our community. So, with this program, we will be here to provide any assistance that you might need as mentors, and we will have bi weekly meetings to share your ideas with the group so that we can sort of have sort of a roundtable going and we can share ideas, answer any questions you might have so that everyone learns from each other. And we will also have workshops from professionals, whether that's in the charitable sector, the entrepreneurship sector, literally anything that you might need to help you along this journey. So, yeah.
Yeah, so if you do want to get involved, we have applications in around December and January. So that gives a lot of time to start thinking of ideas. That's something that we found took a lot of time with our Technovation projects because, you need to understand your problem before you come up with a solution. A lot of the time, people approach it from the opposite direction, and that doesn't create good solutions. So if you want to kind of see where this is at, you can follow us at Ayudo Solutions on Instagram. You can go look at our website, ayudosolutions.com. If you go on the link tree in our Instagram, there's a Google form that you can access to be notified about applications and when those are out. This isn't a hard set commitment, but it's always good to hear about what's out and around there. So if you guys have any more questions, feel free to ask during the question period. We've had quite a bit of experience with a lot of different industries, a lot of tech professionals and entrepreneurship professionals. So there you go. That's us.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much. Next up, we have Speed.
Hey everybody, I am Saeed, and my project was an automated garden system for my grandparents. So my problem, initially I realized my problem when I went to my grandparents' house and I saw my grandpa out in the backyard in it's 35 degrees heat watering his plants, and I realized, my grandparents are really old and they love their backyard. They moved into this brand new house this summer, and it has a really big backyard. The only issue is that they're not always able to maintain it. I'm sure Ellen and Leah, you guys have worked with seniors. You guys know how some seniors, they might wake up one day and they're not feeling it that day, right? Because that's what happens when you're a bit older. So sometimes their plants would suffer because of that, because they'd wake up one morning and then the arthritis would kick in and they don't want to get out of bed, right? So I realized I tried to go in as much as I could to help them out, go and water their plants when I get the chance. But again, especially with school and everything, that's not always feasible. So I realized, why don't I make something that can water the plants for them when they're not able to? So I got thinking, I started brainstorming. I love automation and robotics and stuff like that. That's kind of what I want to go into in the future. So I started looking into automated solutions to stuff like this. And there's this one device called an Arduino, which is a microcontroller, where you can give it inputs based on a whole bunch of different readings, and it can perform actions for you. So what I told the Arduino to do was read the moisture level of the soil so I would place these sensors in the soil in my grandparents' backyard, and they would read the moisture levels, and then based on how dry the soil was, they would water the garden. And at first I was trying to be super high tech and everything, and I tried to use temperature sensors and humidity sensors and all this stuff to figure out, oh, is it going to rain today or is it going to be a dry day? So if it's going to rain, don't bother watering the plants, because we want to conserve water. So the rain's going to come in and water the plants for us. The only issue was that it wasn't very accurate, right? Like, I'm not a meteorologist or anything like that. So what I did instead was just I was wondering, how do I get it to read when it's going to rain? Because I don't want to water the plants and then it rains again and I drown the plants, right? So I started looking into, can I access, a weather network's website and pull the data from their website. So can I see what's the chance of precipitation today? And I pull that information from the site, I feed it to my machine, and then my machine reads it and it's like, okay, it's gonna rain today, don't water the plants. So that was kind of just how my problem solving process worked, right? So, and because of that, I kind of had to push myself to learn new things. So right now I'm learning how to program in HTML, because that's how a lot of websites are coded. And if I want to use that specific component with my robot to pull that information from that website, I gotta use HTML. So that's what I love about problems like these, because you start off on your journey and it always pushes you to further yourself, improve yourself, go further and learn more. I started off with just I was like, I'm gonna make this using Arduino, something I'm really comfortable with, and I ended up, finding a whole other solution and learning a new project, which is why, guys, for real, apply to ICF. It gives you the chance to, experiment with things, try new things out that you never could have done without it. So again, thanks to ICF, and also shout out to all of you guys who made these amazing projects. It sounds so cool, especially Ellen and Leah, just hearing about yours. So the work you guys do with seniors is pretty cool. I know from experience, I love my grandparents, and I get it, right? These older people, they don't have a lot right now, right? So it helps so much if you guys got their back. So shout out, thank you guys.
Thank you very much. Yes, they all sound very interesting so far, and I'm looking for the question and answers section when we might even get some more details. But first, we have two more projects to hear about. Neil, please.
Hey everyone, my name is Neil. I'm currently a first year engineering student here at UBC. So a bit farther away from Waterloo. But I attended high school at WCI, and when I was in grade 10, I founded my medical device company, BEP Technologies, after my close aunt passed away due to a heart attack. So in high school, I started researching at the University of Waterloo, pretty much in the realm of medical diagnostics, trying to figure out a way that we can make medical diagnostics faster in cases such as a cardiovascular disease event or heart attacks. So throughout that process, I eventually built this novel nanomaterial substrate that can pretty much separate like blood constituents from whole blood samples. So recently we tested that with human samples and we got successful results. So we're working with hospitals right now here in Vancouver to test out our clinical trials for our diagnostics with patient sample testing. And yeah, that's like a short bio about us. In terms of how I really got started was simply by reading a whole bunch of research papers. And so I was very much invested in terms of the problem of meeting global healthcare needs. I personally am like a huge biomedical engineering fanatic. Like I ever since I was a kid, I always wanted to build medical devices. So it was definitely quite exciting to work on a project like this. So yeah, right now we're focusing on our clinical trials. We're focusing on raising some venture capital money for scaling our company forward. And one of the key things that we strongly believe in is giving back to the community. So that's why I'm just pretty much here to encourage as well as to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. My video's up. Anyway, we have one more project to hear about. So welcome Olamide and Isha.
Hello, I'm going to presentate using a slideshow. My name is Isha. I'm in grade 11 and I go to GCI.
Hi, my name is Olamide. I am grade 12 and I go to St. Mary High School. Today, we're here to introduce our program, Invitation to Belonging, that was created through Volunteer Waterloo Region. There is not much resources allocated to helping newcomers integrate into Canadian society successfully without feelings of alienation, isolation, or feeling the need to assimilate. Isha, you're muted.
Okay, sorry about that. We realize the importance of creating a program that helps deals with the challenges of being a newcomer, whether that be conflict, mental health, or feelings of isolation, because these issues often go unnoticed. So it's important that we bring awareness to these issues so there are more opportunities for change.
As a person who immigrated to Canada at the age of 10, I understand the challenges that come with being a newcomer. I want to equip others that were in the same position I was to gain the skills and resources I wish I had.
As a first-generation immigrant, I've noticed my parents struggle as newcomers. This is what initially inspired me to want to create change. As I did more research, I found the issue to be a lot bigger than I expected, so it led me to use the resources and skills I had to create a program that targets these issues. So how we attempted to solve the issue.
We provide newcomers with a welcoming and inclusive environment where they can learn valuable skills and resources that aid the acclimation to Canada and its systems. They'll learn about post-secondary life, employment tips, and how to better connect with your community and other organizations. We also made the program intergenerational because we wanted to provide youth and parents an opportunity to hear from both perspectives.
We created an in-person program because it is the most effective way, in our opinion, to help learn and build connections with others. We wanted it to be a place where you can have fun, but also learn about important topics that will stick with you, from doing activities, having guest speakers who are expertise in the topics we discuss, or learning from each other.
It took approximately 4 months to create the program. We just had our second session about 2 weeks ago. The program has been a success. The participants love coming and acquiring knowledge. We have seen relationships being built, and with each new season, we see participants opening more.
We've had many ups and downs during the creation of this program, but we have persevered. One thing I would tell myself when starting the program is that planning is important, but no matter how much you plan, there is always going to be something that you miss or a mistake you made. So, I would embrace it and take it as an opportunity to learn. So we also wanted to give a big thanks to Volunteer Waterloo Region for giving us the opportunity to lead the program through them. They helped us bring our vision to life, so we wanted to give a big thanks to them.
We would also have never able to be able to create our program, Invitation to Belonging, without the help of the Youth Creativity Fund. We would not have the opportunity to provide free tickets, snacks, and other resources. It was a constant help. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I guess those are four very interesting projects that show you the possibilities that local youth in Waterloo Region have done. And to encourage or inspire, hopefully more of you to do the same, I'd like to welcome now April Albano, who will explain to you how that's possible.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks, James. That was truly inspiring. Thank you all, the four groups there, for sharing your journey with us and how you identified a problem and the impact that the Youth Creativity Fund had on your initiative. So my name's April Albano. I'm the Program Manager of Youth Innovation here at the Business and Education Partnership of Waterloo Region, and I am very fortunate to be overseeing the Youth Creativity Fund that some of these students have talked a little bit about in their projects. So as a region, we want to invest in our youth. We want to support you, if you're a youth on this call, with your dreams and your ideas, and give you some funding through microgrants to test these ideas out. So like some of the students who shared tonight, we want to encourage you to look at your lives or the lives of those around you and spot problems that you see. Maybe it's something small, like you've noticed your neighbor can't lift their garbage to the curb, or maybe it's something larger, like single-use plastic waste, or maybe you're inspired by some of the projects tonight. We want to challenge you to dream up some solutions to these problems and think of a way to solve it. And you could be solving it for the short term, for the long term. It really doesn't matter the size of the problem that you're tackling. We just want you to try and tackle it. So all you have to do is have an idea. You apply to the grant online, and we'll give you the resources and the link to that. You would meet with me and talk through your idea, and we would talk through any supports that you need, and hopefully we could get you connected with the proper supports. We meet as a committee to look at all of the applications. So if your application is approved, then you would receive a check in the mail, and you have 3 months to implement your idea. And then we'll send an email and you'll connect with us and let us know what you've learned and the impact the grant has had on you. The beauty of this program and the Youth Creativity Fund is that it doesn't matter if your idea works out or not. And some of these students talked about some of the challenges that they faced, and that is absolutely okay. We simply want you to try out your creativity and your problem-solving skills. So we want to be a low barrier, easy to access place for you to test out your ideas. I have worked with many student entrepreneurs, and all of them will say that failure is not a bad thing. It has inspired them to kind of pivot, to make changes. So really, we don't want you to be intimidated if your idea is really big and you're like, oh no, there's no way I can actually attempt that. We want you to try, and we really want to say yes to as many ideas as we can. So we want to encourage all youth in Waterloo Region to try out their creative ideas. And we really believe that creativity is a skill that we need to work on and develop, and we really want to help you with that. So applications are open for the month of October right now. They close on the 31st, so the last day of each month. So they currently are open for October. You can apply as an individual for up to $500, or you can be a team of 2 or more and you can receive up to $1,000. And you have to be in grades 5 to 12 to be eligible to receive this funding. So I really hope that after today's session that you leave knowing that your community wants to support you and your ideas, just like we've supported these youth and these students that you heard today. So that is from me, and I'm sure there'll be questions. I'm looking forward to answering them.
Okay, thank you very much, April. We're now moving to the question and answer portion of our evening. We have a little more than half an hour to take as many questions as possible. Please, we don't have any questions from the participants yet. So please start typing some in so we can answer your questions and not my questions. We often ask our panel, when it's usually people who are already in the workforce, what they would tell themselves in high school, like in grade 9. I'm wondering this time, because we can have participants in the Youth Creativity Fund as young as grade 5, sort of what advice or what would you tell your younger self?
I guess some advice that I would offer would be just join clubs and stuff. Like, I realize we have like so many different opportunities at our schools that a lot of people don't have, and we should try and take advantage of them, right? Up to like grade 10, like, well, grade 9, I didn't do any clubs or anything like that. And then there was COVID and stuff after that. But once grade 11 started and, clubs started getting back on and I joined them, I realized you can have so much fun and also learn so much at the same time. And it's like, it's like people from like, they have the stereotype, right, of like educational games and stuff like that. It's not the same. Like, I take part in the e-car team at my school. I'm part of that. So we build a car from scratch and we go and race it at the University of Waterloo, which is like so sick. It's like a car you've made yourself. You've worked on this for like a year, making all the parts, putting the motors in and all this. And when you finally see it like come to fruition, when you sit in it and you drive it, it's that feeling of satisfaction that you feel. And it's amazing. You build so many different skills, right? Like, I got a co-op placement recently, and that was completely based upon the skills that I developed using during my time with the e-car club. So like, for sure, join these clubs, like, and it gives you the chance to like figure out what you're interested in. Maybe you don't know what you want to do in the future. Join like the robotics club or the DECA, like the business club, debate club, and to see like what do you really enjoy, and then based on that, maybe you could make a choice on where you want to go into in the future.
Yeah, kind of on the same line of things, is, don't doubt your abilities. Oftentimes, once you put yourself into those clubs or whatever program that you're in, you'll realize that you're more skilled than you think. So when I was in grade 5, 6, 7, I really didn't believe in my math skills. And then we went on and coded an app. So really just embrace whatever you're interested in, right? Whatever your passion is, just go for it. And whatever skills that you need to back it up, they will come with work.
To also add to that, I would say volunteer your community, because volunteering your community, there's a lot of organizations, there's a lot of community groups that provide you with the resources and the skills that you need to realize your passions, find what you want to do. It also allows you to look at your community, feel connected, and realize, where are people having troubles? What do I see problems happening, and how can I fix that? For example, at Asian High, we found this program in collaboration with Volunteer Waterloo Region because we volunteered with them. And from there, we began to have more connections with them and realize, how can we help newcomers? How can we help people that were in my positions or Aisha's friends' positions to be able to gain the skills that would help them be better individuals for themselves and their community? So volunteering allows you to gain more connections to your community. It allows you to become a better person. It allows you to get your passions and also become more aware of the problems in your community that allows you to use creativity to solve them.
I think for me personally, it's a little bit more broad. I would say I had so much free time when I was younger, and I didn't realize like how valuable that was until now. I'm in grade 12 and I got all these applications happening and it's like crazy busy. So just making use of and appreciating all of that time that I had, because there's so many things like the clubs, the volunteering, everything that I could have done, and I wish I had done more.
Anyone else with some advice for their younger self? No, that's all.
I would say one thing which is pretty, at least what I saw quite a lot in terms of like, as a lot of people mentioned here, finding your passion is probably like the number one priority. If you are like, you know, starting early in like high school and stuff like that. Another key element is I think is time management, because I wish that I knew how to manage time back when I was in grade 9. And I think something that even I see university students now struggle with is just managing how to handle 7 courses per term. So I think that's perhaps the number one thing, is like you can do a lot of extracurriculars and maintain a high grade standing at the same time if you know how to manage your time well. So that's probably my best recommendation.
Okay, we do have a couple questions now that have come in from our participants at home. We would love to have some more, so if you have other questions, please type them into the, just hit the Q&A and type away. We have one that's specific to Neil, but I think it might be of broad interest to some members of our audience. Someone would like to know, how did you find a research position as a high school student? And also, when did you find one?
Yeah, so in order to find like, you know, a research position, what I had to do was cold email like 100 professors, quite literally. And what you want to state is like pretty much the project that you're trying to build. And you want to show that you're actually meaning to build it. So in my case, what I did was I filed a patent for the device conception that I had in mind. I previously had experience with patenting because I was running another startup company during the same time, which is to build like these autonomous devices to aid visually impaired individuals. That was like my first and eventually failed startup company. So that one didn't go through that well. But yeah, so like that was my first experience, and I think that's and I started applying to research positions during the summer of 2019. So that would be when I was going into grade 10. And I got into the labs and stuff after filling in like 20 different ethics forms in January of 2020. So I was somehow able to finish most of my lab work in 2 months. And this is why I wish I did more of time management, because I definitely did skip school to go and work at labs at Waterloo quite a few number of times. So and reflecting back on it now, I could have easily managed both school and the lab work. But yeah, well, sometimes you have to learn. So that was pretty much my short experience from January to March. And then in grade 12, once I figured out how to manage my time properly, I started researching again in October of 2021. It was closed due to the COVID pandemic. So starting from October 2021 all the way until I left for UBC. So yeah, that's pretty much how I started. So in grade 10, and just by cold emailing professors.
Another avenue that you can take is most high schools have, if you're in high school, have a co-op program, and those co-ops offer research positions. You just have to email those, you know, the ones that are offering that. So that's another avenue to go down.
Right, and as well, I know often co-op teachers and co-op departments do seek out that kind of opportunity too. They even contact the BEP Waterloo Region once in a while to see if we can help to make a contact for them. So yeah, yeah, if you're interested, you just have to ask some of the right people. The next question from our participants is addressed to Saeed, but I think it very much applies to many, if not all, of our other projects we have heard about tonight. And it's Saeed, did you have support from the technical community or manufacturing to overcome your problem? If not, would you recommend, what kind of, I guess, support would you recommend the community be able to provide you?
So hey Steve, thanks for the question. I think for me personally, my biggest support was probably my teacher at school, right? Like again, as I said before, I love the school I go to. I love the people, I love the clubs, the teachers are all amazing. So I got lucky. My robotics teacher knew a lot about what I was doing. Like when it comes to like robotics stuff and Arduinos, like the stuff I used to control my machine, he had a lot of experience with that. He was the one who actually introduced me to these kind of projects in the first place. So I could always reach out to him if anything. And then again, we live in a time where we have the world at our fingertips, right? You can go on YouTube and find tutorials for like any project, basically. Like a lot of the times when I had trouble dealing with like some issue, like there's not enough pressure in my pumps when I'm trying to feed water into the garden, right? So I went to YouTube and I checked out how did other people building similar projects, how did they go about addressing this problem, right? So I think that's kind of what I would do. And again, for you said where can you go for the best support? I'd say go to teachers at school, and then also look at YouTube and subreddits and Discords. So Discord servers and subreddits are where you meet a lot of people that, a lot of like-minded people who work on similar projects, and you can brainstorm together, maybe even work together. I've worked with some people. I met them on a Discord server, and we collab together on some programming games and stuff. So again, like there's a lot you guys can access, and if anything, you can reach out to you guys came to a panel like this. If you guys want, you can reach out to someone like me if you have or any of these guys. These guys are all like crazy smart, clearly, with the projects they've worked on. So you guys can just reach out, and I'm sure like we would be down to help if you guys wanted.
Okay, does anybody else want to tackle that?
Yeah, I mean, there's also programs, there's lots of competitions, even just in this region. Like we mentioned, Leia and I were part of Technovation. So that's specifically for girls who are interested in coding. And so there you actually get access to mentors. They connect you to people who are, either engineers or business owners or anything like that, right? Working in the industry. So there's lots of programs, even like BEP, that will connect you with people in the industry. And, they really are open to helping, especially when you're the age that we are. I think they get really excited when they see somebody our age doing something, and then they're always open to talk or have a coffee or actually help as a mentor. So that's, I mean, Leia and I have had probably 3 or 4 mentors over the past couple of years who we meet with every week, who help us out with any coding issues we have, or brainstorming for business, anything like that.
Okay, let us move on. I'd like to get some more questions from our participants if possible, but I have 1 or 2 more up my sleeves here. First off, I'd love to hear from as many of you as interested. What did you enjoy most about your project and the process that you've undertaken?
I think for me, there's like a couple things. I can't really say one thing in specific that I loved most. But one of the most, like the coolest things for me was connecting with such a huge amount of people and seeing sort of how many people are willing to help you if you ask for it. And I also think like things like learning. I mean, Ellen and I basically like learned how to code because of the apps that we've worked on, and learned how to reach out to people and things like that. So I think just the process of how much you learn from doing a project like this, or like any of the ones from the other people on this panel, like it really teaches you a lot. So I think that's really cool.
For me personally, it would be talking to people about the program and realizing how much people cared and understood about what it means to be a newcomer and the struggles that faced. For example, I had a meeting with the MP, Mike Morris, and he seemed really excited about the creation of a program like that, with other people that I and Aisha talked to that are really excited about the presence of this kind of program. Maybe they were immigrants when they came here and they understood the importance of having it now, or they're first generational immigrants, or they connected with someone who was a newcomer. So it was really exciting for us to see people who were excited about helping us in whatever way they could and helping us make our program to life. And it's also really cool seeing the participants come in, interact with people, and then get to be happy in who they are and their identity, and understand that it's like being Canadian is not about having one identity. Everyone comes from all over the world, and that's a good and unique thing, and that's something that should be celebrated.
Saeed, would you like to share?
Yeah, for me personally, I think the most satisfying part is when you see your project in action, right? Because you've been working away for weeks, like trying to troubleshoot, trying to find solutions to this problem. And when you finally see the water is wet, you put the soil sensor, it detects that and it goes off. The water goes through the pump and it goes out into the plants and waters them. That, right? And then you see the smiles on the faces around you because they're happy to, like my grandparents are stoked that this amazing system's ready. So I think, and this is like the case for a lot of projects, at least for me personally, when I work on programming projects and stuff, that satisfaction you get when you finally run the program and you don't see any error messages and it works. I think that's why a lot of people go into the field, just for that hit of that amazing feeling, really.
I actually had a question for Neil, because your project is a little more higher, it's been through more stages than I think some of the other ones. And so I was just wondering, kind of like, how do you handle scaling your project up, kind of leading it from a project to a business, making that distinction as a minor, especially?
Yeah, well, as a minor portion is a bit more it's a bit more difficult because you can't really do it in Canada. If you want to create something as a business, you need to make sure that you're in a situation where like scalability becomes easier. So like here in Canada, like if you're ever trying to incorporate like a company, for example, like a very basic task for any, to say that you run a company, you'd at least have to be at 18 years old. So I wasn't 18 at the time. So the way that you get around that, especially if you're within tech, is you file in the U.S. as your main incorporation, and you have your headquarters at Canada. That's what most tech companies, except for maybe a few Canadian tech companies, that's what they do. So you want to make the barrier for entry for that to be as minimal as possible. And in terms of scaling a company, since you're mostly in the software industry, it's much more easier for you, versus biotech, where you have to go through regulatory approval and all of that. It takes like nearly like 5 to 10 years before you get even a single product out to the market, simply because of the rigor that is present within the medical space, and as it rightfully should be. So with software, you can ensure that like you need like maybe maximum 5 developers to literally roll out a product that can be used by hundreds of thousands of people. So the advantage with software companies is that you don't have to spend so much money on R&D as you have to do on marketing and making sure that people actually use your product. So I would say the part where it becomes a company is when one that becomes like your main priority is that company, like over school, over anything else, that becomes your number one priority. And second is when you're very intentional about figuring out how to reward shareholders within your company off of what you're doing. So I think those are the two key things. I can go on and on about how it would differ between software and deep tech companies, because I ran both of them at a certain point. So yeah.
I mean, I know, so the experience as being minors and working in, so Leia and I had to deal with some financial stuff, right? Because we were dealing with money coming in, donations and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And so, even though initially it can seem like there's a really high barrier for entry with things like that, Leia and I actually found ways around. We're not a company, an established company, but we have, we work with like the Meridian Credit Union. And so you can work with smaller credit unions or banks and stuff who, if you explain what your mission is, and kind of show that you're in it for the long term, they will actually help you out. So we have an account with them. So there's a ways around it, but I mean, yes, you will run into barriers kind of as a minor.
Yes.
That's just
Yeah.
something to be aware of.
It becomes much easier when you turn 18. So yeah, you don't really have to deal with that sort of stuff. Like when I turned 18, we just like did most of our incorporation like here in Canada and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that was like sort of like a temporary thing. So yeah, like there's a lot of ways around it. I think for us, like simply because we knew that we weren't making any profit of it. Most of our R&D was all like in-kind contributions from the University of Waterloo. So we just used their resources, their labs and stuff like that. And they just pretty much donated, I guess, those resources to us. So yeah, for us, we didn't really need to. We're not going to make money in at least like for the next 5 years. So yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. It's I know I've learned a few things there. I guess part of the moral of the story is you don't have to wait until 18 to have this big brilliant idea. Now, one other question I wanted to ask folks, because especially for the Youth Creativity Fund, we're not insisting upon success or that there be sort of instant results or facts. In fact, open to having people embrace failure and taking an iterative approach where they figure out how they can do things different and better, and possibly even ask for some more funds. All we ask is that after 3 months, you get back to us and you share what you've learned. So my question for you is, can you share something that you learned through your process, especially something that may have been unexpected that you wouldn't have thought you would learn going in?
I would say that one of the most important things for Leia and I was, you go through so many versions when you're creating an app. At a certain point, you need to say, okay, this is my minimum viable product. There's something that I can do with this, and so I need to get this out to my target users, right? So that's why we kind of did this nursing home thing, is because we found that you're not, there comes a point where you can only learn about the problem so much being an outsider. So you need to then put your solution into action, because there will be issues with your solution. So you need to, put that into the community, see what your target users say about it. And it's really important to get feedback as often and consistently as possible when they're using whatever you've created. And so, yeah, I'd say, that iterative process that was just mentioned comes also through action. So you need to put your solution out there and get feedback, interviews, surveys, as much as possible, because that will inform on your next version.
For me, I remember Aisha talked about this before, is when creating a program, you have to have a plan, a set plan of what you want to do and what you want to achieve. But you also have to be really flexible, because you can't control how the participants that you're inviting are going to react, or whether they're going to come, or how things are going to flow depending on the future. So you have to be flexible on how you react to changes, but also have a clear goal of what you want to achieve. And also as we started creating the program and people started giving us more ideas, we learned that even if you come to a problem that's very personal to you, you only ever see the problem from your own perspective. And it's hearing other people's perspective on the problems that you see allows you to be able to expand your solution more. For example, when we thought of the term newcomers, we're thinking of people for like maybe people that just came to Canada like a few months ago. And then we realized the term newcomers can mean different things for many people. Some people might have come here for 20 years to Canada and still feel like a newcomer because they don't feel like they really understand Canada as a whole country or its systems. And we're also being flexible and extending it to first generational immigrants who even though they were born in Canada, the experiences of what it means to be Canadian is different from other people. So it's being flexible and also being willing to allow other people to provide insight into your ideas in order to let it to grow more and become as fruitful as it can be.
Anybody else learn anything they'd like to share? Okay.
Yeah, I can go. So I think another thing that Ellen and I really understood the importance of was reaching out to people, because there were a lot of situations where Ellen and I did not know what to do next, and reaching out to people in the community, whether that's through interviews or just emailing people, it really helped sort of figure out what's next, and help make decisions. And I think that aspect is something that I didn't realize how important that was, because before I kind of I was like, well, I mean, if you have an idea, you just kind of do it and then you're good, right? But it's not like that. Like, you will face bumps along the road, and there are a lot of people that are willing to help, and all you need to do is just reach out.
I think something that I learned personally is that you should never be afraid of just, scratching everything and starting from taking everything apart and starting from scratch, right? Because sometimes you're going to reach an issue and there's no way for you to fix it until you come at it from a completely fresh angle. So a lot of times I would just, select all my code for my machine and just delete it and start again. And it just, I don't know, for some reason, for me personally, it helps just because you're in this fresh mindset of approaching the problem, and you might see things in a way you never have before. So just don't be afraid of, failing again. The people from BEPWR have said, don't be afraid of failing and then starting again and again and again, because at some point you will get it right. And when it clicks, it's all worth it.
Okay, we're getting close to the end of our time here. I have one more question before I wrap things up, and it's for April. We've had some great presentations, very interesting projects, but some people watching at home may think that the bar has been set very high, and be concerned that they're not at the same level and interested in pursuing solving a problem. What would you say to folks at home who are so impressed by what they're hearing tonight that they might be concerned whether they qualify?
Yeah, certainly. I think the biggest thing I want to just let everyone know is that we want to say yes to as many ideas as we can. And we realize when you kind of are taking a step out and wanting to solve a problem that you might not be and likely aren't going to be at the stage that some of these students are. We know that some of you will just be in the exploratory phase. You're just learning about that problem area and you have an inkling into a solution, and that's totally okay, and that's what we want to see. I'll also say I'd encourage you to just in your everyday life, look at, I think, your life, but also people around you, at annoyances or things that bother you every day, maybe on your commute to work or your commute to school, not to work, to school, and think, how could I solve that? And it could be a really simple thing. And then it may, as Saeed was talking about, it could get more complicated as you kind of dive into it more. But I want you to just tomorrow, as you're going to school, think about, or doing your morning routine, think about some problem or notice problems. I think the first step is just recognizing where those problems are or where barriers are for other people, maybe that you come across. And then just start letting yourself dream. Just be creative and think about how, if you were able to tackle this, how would you begin? Do you need to code something? Do you need to develop an app? Do you need to create something physical? Maybe it's a ramp or something for those that have a disability to get access to something. It could be something very simple to start. Also encourage you that through this process, you can apply, and you'll have a meeting with me, and we're going to dive in and discuss what you're proposing and the idea that you have. And I can give some suggestions. So if we bring it to the committee and it doesn't pass, we have a chance to connect again and apply again. So we can always improve the application. So what I really just want to say is I'd encourage you to try to apply. You'll have some conversations with me. I promise I'm very welcoming and happy to help you as best I can. And then also, if you're feeling a little bit intimidated and thinking, I don't even know, maybe the first step to coding, for example, we're going to do all we can to connect you with mentors. And that's a kind of a theme that I saw throughout today. Just listening to all of these student stories is the impact that mentors had on them and on their journey. So we're going to do what we can to connect you and support you through the process. So you don't have to have all the answers from the outset.
And another point I just like to quickly make is that we've had a lot of connections with technology here tonight too, and that's not. I mean, that's wonderful if that's who you are and what you're interested in. But it's not the only type of creativity that we're open to. I know, for instance, a woman I believe her day job is essentially as a climate scientist, but she's also an artist who does these wonderful mosaics, and all of them but they're not, the mosaics address issues related to climate change, and that's one of the ways that she is tackling the trying to get people to take action on climate change by putting it in the form of art. And the City of Kitchener's new artist in residence is an Indigenous person, and he uses his photography to tell stories related to local Indigenous people, and in particular the land back movement. So there's a whole wide variety of possibilities. We just took a couple projects that we were already working with, and a couple others that we knew about and were impressed, and we're certainly happy to have all those. But basically we say tackle any problem, big or small, and how you tackle it is up to you. So okay, so yes, a very interesting and inspiring hour. Our time is up.